Welcome to the Family Journey Show, brought to you by Finally Home. Each month, we'll be live with conversations between our Finally Home team and leading experts. Our mission is to provide you with the insights, strategies, and encouragement you need to navigate the unique challenges and joys of your family journey. Whether you're a foster parent, an adoptive caregiver, or a kinship guardian, this show is designed with you in mind. We'll be diving deep into topics that matter most to you, from managing big emotions and building strong family bonds to accessing mental health resources and advocating for your children's needs. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's embark on this journey together. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Welcome to the Family Journey Show, where support, community, and resilience grow strong roots.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Finally Home's Family Journey Show, where we talk about things that are important to families like ours, foster, adoptive, and kinship families. I'm Kristin Orphan, co-founder and creative director of Finally Home, here with a couple of Finally Home's team members. I'm really excited about this episode because really this is our team coming to you talking about some things that are pretty important in our lives, and I think will be really interesting to you. So first of all, I want to introduce Kristina Kasper. She's a part of the Finally Home administrative support team, specifically overseeing data management, which is a huge help to us. And Kristina's been a personal trainer for about 18 years. Over this time, she's advised people on fitness and nutrition, and currently leads a long-standing group training program. And then Ashley Nichols, she's also here with us, and Ashley oversees Finally Home's Solid Rock Students program and community engagement. She recently also became a certified personal trainer through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So I thought these team members would be perfect for our conversation today because it really is about how physical health impacts our mental health. So thank you both for being here today and being willing to talk about some of your personal experiences and also from your knowledge. So welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So Kristina, we're going to start with you. First of all, just share a little bit about how you got into this arena of personal training.
I've just always been physically active. My parents were very active. We played tennis as a family. My parents always worked out. It was modeled for me growing up. So being physically active was just part of our family value. So as far as how I got involved in personal training, when my kids were small and I was looking for a part-time job, I had an opportunity to work for and support a personal trainer. And so just with admin work and through that relationship, I just really became fascinated with just programming and how physical fitness and different exercises and the way that you program them can impact your whole body. And so I just went down because of that. I did get certified as a personal trainer. And then I worked in that arena for about 14 years for that same gym before going. Basically, I still do personal training, but with a group of women at home at my house. So I'm still doing it.
That's great. Well, I want to point one thing out because we're always looking at how Finally Home's values and how we teach families really look like in everyday practical issues. And you talked about this idea of growing up and seeing your parents be active, and that we lead and model for our kids, and both of them are equally as important. As you know, we talk about parents being leaders and models. So yes, we direct our kids and we instruct them, but we also live out these values in front of them. And that's something that really impacted you as you look back. So that's really neat. So Ashley, what about you? How did you get into this arena of physical fitness?
Yeah, well, my story is a little different. So I grew up playing soccer, loved it, but I quit after middle school and I didn't really ever know how to work out. I didn't know what physical fitness necessarily meant, and moved away from home. And when I went to college, I kind of went down a dark path with my self-image and how I was feeling with my mental health, and went down a different journey of trying to change my body by restricting my eating or just going down a path of negative eating habits. And so there came to a point where I just remember thinking, I can't keep doing this. This is not effective. It's not healthy. It's not a long-term solution. And so I literally just looked up a YouTube video on how to work out. Like, how do you go to the gym? Because it's so intimidating to just walk into a gym not knowing what to do. And so I looked up a YouTube video, and then I started working out. I got a gym membership and started working out, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It changed my mental health, my physical health, and just overall helped shape me into a better person. And so one of my best friends actually got her personal training certification and started coaching at a gym, and just saw how fun it was. And so I was like, well, I have a passion for this. I want to share this wisdom and this, this incredible thing with other people. So I got my personal training certification last summer.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that. I know that
Thank
that
you.
was a goal you set, and you worked at it for a good year or so on that. So that's really cool. So your story was a little different in that you played, I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate. You played games, organized games, but beyond that, once that was over, soccer, you weren't exactly sure how do you then continue to be physically fit all the way then to college, and realizing that you were really struggling with your body image, and your first, which I think a lot of people listening will be able to relate to this, young and old, that your first thought was to restrict your eating until you found the gift of physical activity.
Yeah.
I love that both of you, and I know you both really well, use this discovery of the positives of physical activity. The whole purpose of becoming personal trainers and coaches was that you really wanted to encourage and serve other people, and of course we know that being active is going to help us physically, but what we're really talking about today is the whole person. So Kristina, how do you believe that this physical health influences mental health? And before you answer, I just want to say that sometimes we throw around words like mental health, and I want to say what we mean by that. It's our emotions. It's the way we think both about ourselves, as Ashley kind of started to allude, but the way we see the world, and for good or bad. It's our overall attitudes, mindsets. It's everything. That's what we at Finally Home mean by mental health. Where is our mental health? So how does our physical health influence our mental health?
That's a great question, and I know that's the point of today's conversation. And I just want to differentiate between being physically healthy and doing physical exercise. Although those things go together, meaning that you have to have physical exercise in order to be physically healthy. I just want to point out that being physically healthy is a lifelong, long-term goal. And I just want to make sure that our listeners understand that if you don't feel like you're physically healthy, that does not mean you can't do something today that influences your mental health today. So I just want to start out by saying that, because I think that when we talk about physical fitness, that can be sound like a very daunting task to where I am, and what I think is physically fit may be so far away, that I just want to encourage our viewers that physical activity on any given day will influence your mental health. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. So let's start out with the long term. If you're physically healthy, you're physically fit, how it would impact your mental health, just from a day-to-day basis. If you're physically active, and that results in physical health long term, is that you would tend to see most people would have lower blood pressure, you would sleep better, you have better blood flow to your brain, which increases clarity and memory and all those good things. And that would be our goal, right? We want all those things and feeling, so we would feel good. And feeling good physically does definitely influence your brain and the way you see the world. On the flip side of that is that physical activity can be utilized on a day-to-day basis to manage actual stressors, emotional, mental stressors that are happening to you right now. So you don't have to be physically fit in order to use exercise to increase your mental health or the way that you respond to stress today. And let me just expand on that just a little bit. What happens when you exercise, and this could be a walk around the block. I'm not saying, Ashley and I both enjoy working out in the gym, but we also do other things that are active. So what happens when you work out is it increases your levels of serotonin and endorphins. And the endorphins are your feel-good brain chemicals. When you do anything that's active, and for not just for a few seconds, but you do anything, including walking around the block or doing air squats, what happens is those brain chemicals increase, and it gives you a better sense of well-being. So physical activity is really important when we're talking about mental health.
That's such a great differentiation. And I, for a few reasons, this differentiation between being physically active and physically fit, which also maybe we say physically fit and physically healthy. All three of those are probably have a little bit a different definition if we just really took time to unpack them, and we're not going to, but they all relate to each other. They're like in the same family, but they don't have, we don't have to have the whole package to do something now today.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying is that regularly staying physically active is going to have an impact on your physical health.
Correct.
And make you more fit if you're, being wise and such. But you don't have to look at in what may be perceived as an unattainable goal, which, by the way, often we get from comparing ourselves to others. You don't have to look at that and say, well, that's not me, I'm not that person, to in this moment realize I'm feeling pretty stressed, I'm going to take a walk around the block.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying is that even that changes things now.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're talking, one thing I've noticed too, and I think this kind of came about as we all started working from home and all of that whole thing, is that we could even maybe work out every single day, but then not be active the rest of the day and not have those benefits. So to be active, continually active throughout the day and thinking of those things so that we are getting those benefits that you're talking about, those brain chemicals, the walking back and forth is not only increasing those chemicals that you're talking about, also it's that movement of the back and forth has been proven by research to help our brain connect and communicate to both sides of the brain, help us process things that are stressful and get a little bit more clarity. So that is really good differentiation. And I love that, both for us as parents and as models, as well as for the kids in our care and in our home, is to consider the activity, how it benefits us right away. So Ashley, can you share a personal experience where physical activity improves your mental well-being?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love what Kristina said, like there are steps you can take today and it's a journey. And that it was really true for my story. When I first started, working out and learning how to work out, I wasn't focused on my results. I was focused on, I want to be better today and tomorrow. and what can I do and what steps can I take to do that. And so, you know, it led to me learning how to work out, and it significantly, you know, reduced my anxiety. One of the things that was hugely beneficial was I gained so much mental clarity, because so much of the day was occupied by me thinking about what my next meal was going to be, what I'm going to eat over the weekend, what I'm going to do, like where my food is going to, what kind of food I'm going to eat, you know, tomorrow, what did I eat yesterday, and how is that going to affect me, you know, the next day. And so my brain was constantly filled with those thoughts. And when I started working out, it released me from that. Like, I gained freedom from worrying and thinking about those things. And it's so powerful when you go to at least for me, when I would go to the gym or when I would choose to be active, go on a walk, you know, my brain would just be clear, and I was just focused on moving my body and enjoying, you know, the sense of autonomy and power that I had when I was working out.
Wow. Well, I know that for me, when I am even working from home, sitting in front of a computer screen, and I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, taking a walk, I get my best ideas. Mm-hmm. And it's not by chance. It's what you both are describing. It's this mental clarity. And then I love that when you describe moving your body, it also sets you free to not be stuck on those consuming thoughts over and over. What am I going to eat? What did I eat? How is that impacting me? It's like you started to experience some freedom. So you started your journey, Ashley, with what can I remove from my life? And then what you found in physical activity was actually something that you could add into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to share a story. So when I had first started this journey, like I said, I was kind of in a dark place in my life, and I was living with two of my really wonderful friends, my college roommates, and they could see the effects emotionally that, you know, were hindering me. They could see my anxiety presenting itself in negative ways. And so they did this really wonderful thing, is they covered my mirror. I was gone one day, and I came home, and they covered all of my mirrors with sticky notes. And on all of those sticky notes, they had written truth about me. Like, you are kind, you are caring, you are, like, just all of these things that, this truth that they had spoken over me, and that I wasn't defined by what I see, and the lies that I had told myself. And that was just so eye-opening and so caring. And, that was incredible. And then kind of once I had been on my journey of, you know, working out and learning how to move my body, and when I finally felt like I was in a good place mentally, I remember the day that I was able to take those sticky notes off, and I just celebrated with my friends, and it was just an incredible moment.
Wow. That's a powerful story, Ashley. And I love that you, the reason you were able to take the sticky notes off is not because you saw a change in your body. And that's really where you start your journey, wanting to see something different. And what happened was, like you said, your perspective changed, and you were able to see yourself from a different perspective. And I would speculate that's because of your brain chemistry had changed along with the exercise. It does really influence your brain, and it creates, it's like it kind of clears out your brain. I love that that's your story, and it wasn't a story of, then I got super jacked and but the other thing too is, like, you know, when you start out, it's hard, right? I mean, it's really hard to start working out. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. You feel awkward and all of those things. But what ends up happening is, because your brain chemistry is changing and you're increasing your dopamine and your serotonin and the endorphins and all of that, like it makes you want to do it again. And even though it's awkward and painful and all of that, those things get better with time. But what happens inside your body actually helps you continue to do the things that are going to change you as a whole person, as you said, Kristin, at the very beginning. And this is about the whole person. This isn't about just having, just being physically fit, or this is about how all of those things fit together, physical fitness and mental health.
Yeah, we are always talking about balance at Finally Home, and that idea of taking care of the whole person, which of course includes our spiritual health. But all of these things, being in balance. And that's what we're emphasizing today, because we're not defining physical health as a certain size or appearance goal, and pointing out that what really began your journey of freedom was starting to feel that sense of confidence. And that was coming because it's almost like the physical activity was clearing the lens of how you saw yourself, how you saw the world, which is what we started to talk about, almost clearing the cobwebs. And Kristina, I think the principle of taking those first steps to do something that you don't necessarily want to do. You don't necessarily want to get off the couch. You don't want to get, your kid doesn't want to put down the screen. It is hard. It takes a minute, and yet it builds on itself. The more you do it, the more you want to do it. But no matter what habit that we're talking about integrating into our lives, the first step is the hardest step. But the encouragement you're reminding us is that the more you do it, the more you want to do it. Your body begins to crave that positive thing. And that's a really important principle that we could apply to a lot of domains of our lives. So we're talking about the connection of physical with the mental, because everything is connected. So how can exercise, we started to touch on that, Kristina, but we're gonna expand on this a little bit more. Talk to us a little bit more about how exercise, or I like when you said physical activity, because we really do want to set people free, that we're not talking about just one thing. Like, oh gosh, they're telling me to go to the gym for an hour and lift weights and do these things, or I have to go and do this, or I have to go that. So I actually really like the phrase you used, physical activity.
Okay.
How does physical activity help manage stress and anxiety today?
That's another really good question. The interesting thing about exercise or physical activity, it is actually a stressor on your body. It's a physical stressor, and your body actually responds to that physical stress in the same exact way that it responds to an emotional or an emotional stressor. So the great thing about exercise is that it's a controlled stressor. So you have the control, and you are making the decision. I'm going to put this stress on my body. And for good reason. It's a good stressor. But what ends up happening is that it teaches your body how to manage stress like that's not under your control. So when you experience an emotional stressor, your body actually, through physical exercise, the stressor of that, actually learns how to manage all stress. And to use a word that you love, Kristin, it makes you more resilient to stress. So it helps your body to learn how to be under stress, but then the stressor ends and your body naturally recovers. So there's been studies as well that say that when you're in a fight or flight mode, or you've been triggered, so to speak, and you've got all of the cortisol and adrenaline rush of this stressor or trigger, that exercise can stop that, or at least greatly reduce that response. It may not go away completely, but it can help your body bring that back down into a closer to a more calm state. So exercise itself has actual physiological impact and brain and it impacts your brain chemistry in the moment that can increase your ability to manage a stressor if it's an emotional stressor, and it helps your body stay more in a calm state when you do experience stressors. So what do I mean by what kind of exercise? What does that look like? This could be anything from, like you said, Kristin, it could be taking a walk around the block. That's what I do when I'm feeling overwhelmed. Like I feel like there's an overwhelming anxiety or stressor, and I feel like I can't handle this. Taking a walk around the block, that will change the way that my body, it will increase, like we talked about, those feel-good chemicals in my brain, and it will bring my body back down into less of a fight or flight state. But this could be, I mean, there's all sorts of ways to do this. You could, it could be throwing a ball with your kids. It can be get on your treadmill, or you can even stand up and just do 10 air squats. Like if you can't walk around the block because it's, 10 below, get up, do some air squats, or do some walking lunges, or do push-ups, do anything that requires you to put a physical stress on your body, and it will help you to get back down to more of a calm state.
Wow. Well, as you're talking, and first of all, I have not heard it explained that way. So I want to just stop and emphasize what you said, that physical exertion, some amount of stress teaches your body how to bounce back. And that's what we do. We say resilience, or bouncing back from hard times. The Finally Home's children's program is Superheroes Bounce Back. And so this idea of there needing to be a little bit of practice in bouncing back, and that the physical exertion or pushing yourself and learning that you can. I'm thinking about the positives of being on a sports team for young people who have PTSD. I'm thinking about going on a walk, and those times where your kids are like, I can't, take one more step, and reasonably and responsibly giving them some opportunities to experience the, I thought I couldn't possibly, but I actually did. Those things are all part of not only teaching our mind and then looking back on those memories and going, wow, that was really hard, but I did it. But also what you're saying is there's a physical reality that your body learns that I can deal with this. What a powerful thing for us and for our families. And then, lastly, as you're talking about, when our kids are triggered, when they are having a huge emotional response, what we often say is, rather than telling your kids to calm down or requiring that they start to quote unquote behave, usually some of the very best intervention strategies are physical. Let's just run in place. Let's just jump up and down, before you require anything, cognitively for them to choose some, to calm down. That this idea of getting that out is, and that's why part of why what you're talking about. There's a physical response that will happen when we start to exert ourselves, an emotional response that can happen. So Ashley, what about you? What are some practical ways that you found to start being physical activity, or as I've heard you say, just to move your body?
Yeah. Kristina, I love that you're giving some practical ways that you don't have to just get a gym membership, sign up, and walk in, which can be very intimidating. I experienced that firsthand. But I actually started my journey during COVID, so I didn't really have an option to go to the gym very much. So I would literally just look up YouTube, I would set aside 30 minutes a day and look up YouTube videos and just follow somebody telling you how to work out as a free, easy way to do, to move my body. Or I would go, play pickleball with my friends, or, go play soccer with my friends, or go on a walk outside when it was nice, or maybe challenge myself if I wanted to go get, coffee on a Saturday morning. I lived downtown at the time, so I, could go walk to a coffee shop. So just taking little things that are already integrated in our lives, like playing with our kids, going somewhere as a family, you can incorporate physical activity as a very practical way to, come together and do something that's beneficial for both your physical and mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that the goal is not just, like we've talked about, just having a body type that you want, but the goal is to really be both physically and mentally healthy, which is what we keep harping on, but it really is important. It's that important. And I think, for me, just to touch on actually being intimidated going into a gym and how stressful that is to go in as a woman by yourself into a gym. And that's part of what I love, the class that I do with the women that I have. It's all women. And part of what makes it special, and I like that you talked about going and playing with your friends. This is how I play with my friends. We meet at the gym and we meet and we work out together. But just being together, that's another, and we talked about the family thing and being active as a family. That's part of the magic for me, is working out with my friends. So we work out together. So we're getting the physical and we're getting an emotional time. We're getting some time together, relational time together, which we all know is also really important for your mental health. I think that, and this could be, I have a friend who walks almost every single day with somebody. She just is a walker. She loves it. And she always invites a friend. And so it can be that simple. To increase your mental and physical health.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to go back to the emotional regulation piece that we were kind of talking about. I just thought of something. Our one of our resources, our toolkit for big emotions, is so good of walking through how to use your body physically to regulate your emotions. So there's, pushing against a wall or doing some jumping jacks or physically using your body to help manage those stressors. I remember when I first started mentoring youth in foster care, I worked with an occupational therapist. She was my supervisor, and she gave me some really incredible tools when my students were feeling maybe stressed or were feeling overwhelmed. She would give me tools, go, race them to the end of the field and come back, swing on a swing set, use your body to physically move and to engage, to regulate your brain. And I just thought that was fascinating. And so it's really cool that we have tools for families to help learn how to do that for kiddos of all ages.
That's right. And we also know on the whole walking with people, spending time with people. Mm-hmm. One of the things when kids and young people are having a really hard time, they're having a trauma response, or they've been triggered, anything, and it feels out of control and they're struggling to put words to it. And of course, as parents, we look right to the behavior, which we know that kids who've been through hard things and trauma, that usually approaching the behavior first isn't very effective. Of course, we want everybody to be safe, but in the long-term change, connecting to the why underneath is going to be the most crucial. Why the big response? Why the reactions that don't seem to match the present circumstance? Back to this idea of walking side by side. One of the things that is recommended is that we don't try to approach our young people just face to face with, intense eye contact. That is also not going to be effective. And this parallel, standing side by side, having conversations is going to be the most effective, the least intimidating, and allowing, it just research shows that allows the young person, or for us for that matter, to be processing things and feeling more safe about it than someone just staring directly into our face. Walking together side by side, without any talk at first and just kind of going along, that there's another benefit to walking. Yeah. So let's get practical, Kristina. For someone who's listening, and wondering, how do I start? How do I change my lifestyle and my family's culture, how do I get started?
That's a great question. And I just want to touch on something. We have talked about kids and the importance of activity for kids. I think that it's important to point out that just like every adult, every kid has different level of need of physical activity. So I think it's important for parents to take that into account for each of their kids. That some kids just to be they just need more in order to function well. And some kids need less in order to function well. And I think it's important to recognize that there's not a one size fits all for every child or adult. And that's something that you can take into account for as an adult too, is to understand what your specific physical activity needs are. But it is something parents can keep in their toolbox. Like we've just been talking about, the instantaneous change in the brain chemistry. It is something that parents, it's a good tool if your child is experiencing a trigger, like we said, or just is having a hard time getting the words out or can't express themselves, and the behaviors are getting bigger. Physical activity, taking a time out and saying, okay, let's run around the block. Let's do, whatever it looks like for your family or your child. That's a really good tool to keep in your toolbox. If that's effective. But the simplest things that families can do, these are things that you can do in your own living room. We keep talking about walking. And that is obviously something we can do anytime, as long as you live in an area where that's possible, walk outside. But as a family, this could be as simple as, rest. Like kids need physical touch, but they also need physical activity. So like wrestling, I know dads, that's a big dad thing, wrestle with your kids. They love that. Jumping rope, jumping jacks, you can have a dance party, gardening, including your kids in gardening. And there's so many small ways that you can start and do anywhere, anytime, that don't take a lot of preparation or money. And the great thing about doing this as a family is that it strengthens those family bonds when you're doing something hard together, or even if it's not hard, but just enjoyable, and you're using your body. And so you've got these brain chemicals, like these good feel-good brain chemicals increasing as you're spending time together. Like those things start to be connected in your brain and in your kids' brains. So it doesn't have to be some big daunting task to figure out how are we going to be a physically active family. It can start right in your family room.
That's fun. Thank you for reminding us that every child is different. We want to approach them as such, what they're comfortable with, whether the touch they're comfortable with, those things that they can handle, quote unquote, without possibly getting out of control. You have to, I think about some kids who require a lot of physical activity, and that can become really big. One of the tips that we give to families is, if kids just got to go all out and you're concerned about this getting out of control, set a timer and have an activity right after that's planned, so that you can set boundaries, all of those things. And you can talk to Finally Home, reach out with follow-up questions about these sorts of things, because like we've said, everybody is different, needs different things. Some may need like a wild dance party, and some may need to just listen to slow, soft music and make, gentle movements, whatever it is, take a walk, run, whatever it is. Part of what we do as parents is we pay attention. And we also pay attention, to ourselves as well. A lot going on. So Ashley brought up this issue of food, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's an entire show and then some in and of itself. We know that food does play a pretty big role in this idea of being physically healthy. Most of our focus today is on being physically active and the power of that. We're going to touch a little bit on food. I want to say that I recognize food is a huge issue for many of our kids because of deprivation. or even just this idea of it representing a security that wasn't there. And for a lot of different reasons, we misuse food. And so we do need to be aware of that. Whatever issue is going on in your home, we're always going to encourage you to reach out for help when you're feeling over your head, because it's hard to be an expert and to know everything about everything. And so we're just going to talk a little bit from one perspective about this issue of food and how it does impact our physical health. So food does matter. And Kristina, what role does food play in this journey of being physically healthy?
That's a great question. And I think it's a hard question to answer in a short amount of time, like you said, because there's a lot of confusing or conflicting information out there about what is a good, healthy diet. And it is a complex topic, but the bottom line is that everyone is different, and there are foods that will help you increase your mental clarity and your focus and your energy, and then there are foods that will do the opposite of that. And the types of foods that you choose will have there will be a response. Your body will respond to that in different ways. So I think for me, instead of following the newest fad diet that promises you all the things that were, all the things, is just to pay attention to how different foods, how your body responds, your brain and your body responds to different foods. When you eat this, how do you feel later that day? Or when you eat this, just starting to really pay attention. And I know sometimes that's hard when you're busy, and you're going from here to there. But if you're starting to notice, gosh, I kind of feel tired and sluggish, and I'm moody, and I'm like starting to just not be very nice to people at this point, today, or at this point in the day, you may want to look at what have I eaten today? Are there things that I'm eating or not eating that are causing me to feel this way? So that's one thing. I think that, but the other thing is that you really want to focus on eating as many foods in their natural state as possible. And that will help you out. And that's not to say don't eat junk food ever, or things that that are maybe not unhealthy. It's just that your body and your brain need nutrients. They need there's so many processes that on your body, or all your processes in your body, are reliant on different vitamins and minerals and protein and all of the things. So if you focus on eating more foods that are closest to their natural state, most of the time, and then, a portion of the time, some people can go to 80-20 route, like 80% of the time you're eating, foods that are, what we would consider healthy. And then 20% of the time you can add in some other things. You're just giving yourself the best chance at feeling physically and mentally sharp and energetic and focused. And those things impact how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world. So it doesn't have to be a restrictive thing where this is the way you eat, but we do need to think about and think through, how is my body responding to what I am eating or what I'm not eating?
Yeah, that's really good. I think one thing that was really helpful for me, Kristina, and I really loved what you said, is that it's all about balance. There's foods that fuel my body and that make me feel good, but I also, allow myself to have fun foods when my body craves that. And, not having an all or nothing mindset really, really shifted my relationship with the way that I saw that. And so balance is just so important with the way that we're feeling our bodies.
Yeah. And I like that we're looking at this from two different perspectives, because we were talking about food restriction to change your body at the beginning, and which, as you found out, that actually is counterproductive, and it will actually end up really damaging your body, and it also damages your brain. Yeah. So we have to so we want to look at food from the perspective that God made food for us to eat to survive. Food is not the enemy. Food is not bad. But what we have to do is listen to our bodies and just become a student of our bodies. Like I know that if I eat like a really high carb breakfast, like let's say I just eat pancakes, which sometimes, that I do that. I'll do it. I love pancakes, but then I don't feel good for the rest of the day. And I'm not very kind to the people that I love because I don't feel good. I'm tired and my brain is very foggy. And so I know that if I want to have pancakes, I also need to have some protein with it, or have less pancakes and more protein. Like I know that for me. And so everybody is different. And so I just, it's important to understand that we need food, and that you can use food just like you can use exercise to an excess in either direction by deprivation or eating too much. And it ends up being harmful to your body and your brain. And so I just want to encourage people to have a good perspective that food is not the enemy and it's not bad. We need food, but what food we choose, and how our body responds is what really is important.
Love that.
I just listened to a sermon now that it was talking about materialism and money. And the statement was that, money is a terrible God, but it's a great servant. And I just thought that is relevant to physical exercise, relevant to food. It's a terrible God. It's a terrible idol, but it's a great servant. And also it is a gift to us. And so all about balance. And maybe we'll come back and do another show and talk a little bit more about food, because we do know that it is an issue with many of our young people. So we're talking about balance and moods and food and just the power of physical activity. And that's really what we want to leave people with, is this gift that you can be physically active today. Forget about yesterday and start to think about things that are fun, ways to move your body, and be realistic and recognize that it's a gift that you give to yourself and something that you're modeling to your kids with many, many benefits. So one of the last things that we're going to talk about is we actually have a practical way for you to get moving today. So Ashley, can you share a little bit about Finally Home Step Up for Families virtual event?
Yes, I am so excited to share about this. So we are launching our very first ever Step Up for Families 400,000 Step Challenge. So we are encouraging you, your neighbor, your family, rally the troops in your community to build a team and walk 400,000 steps in honor of the 400,000 children in foster care. So this event starts from April 1st and goes all the way to May 6th. And so within that, 36 days, we're challenging you to walk 400,000 steps. And we're going to have some awesome prizes along the way for submitting your steps and for whoever walks the most steps. And it's an easy way to just get involved, get your family moving for a greater purpose. And so we're going to have some events along the way if you're in Northern Colorado. And yeah, we're just really excited to come together as a community. And this event will help raise awareness and help raise crucial funds to support foster, adoptive, and kinship families through the ones that we serve through Finally Home. So go to stepupforfamilies.org to get some more information and get registered. And like Kristin said, if you guys have any questions or need any additional information, you can always reach out to us for some help.
That's great. Thank you. Well, that's all for this week. We look forward to being with you next month. And please make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when we publish a new video. We will be live each month for this Family Journey show, as well as sharing additional resources in between that you will not want to miss out on. Thank you so much for taking time to listen today.
Becoming a foster, adoptive, or kinship caregiver is exciting and scary all at the same time. There is no way of fully knowing what personality the child or children will have, or what trauma they have experienced. Finding the resources to help you navigate the day-to-day challenges can be tricky. This is where Resilient Roots comes in. This annual membership is the toolbox you need to support whole family strengthening. You'll have access to on-demand videos from our trauma-informed, research-based curriculum that teaches each member of your family how to speak up, listen, and cooperate. By building these foundational blocks of family communication, each family member will feel valued, heard, and truly understand their big emotions. Learn more by visiting finallyhome.net/resilient-roots. Use code FamilyJourneyShow for 50% off your first year.